And so I wanted to sort of touch on kind of every aspect of almost like what's next and how do you cope with it. And there was really no outcome. I think how I dealt with it, and when I say dealt with it, not competing anymore, and sort of as you know what they say, every athlete has a shelf life, and when you're near the end of that shelf life, it gets freaking scary, dude. And it's like, shit, this is the only thing I know. What on earth can I do next? And so it got pretty dark for me, and I think it got dark for a lot of everyone else that was featured. But eventually, you will find a way out. Yeah, it's watch it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they say athletes die twice.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Totally.
don't you think that sums up
Yeah,
a lot of what you spoke about? I don't
yeah,
think it's just the gentlemen and the ladies in that show.
yeah. It's
One of the
in
most
general.
popular podcasts was Soderstrom
Yeah,
early on, and he really spoke out, and he was open with his struggles. And I think from athletes to everyday people that maybe don't race at a high level,
mm,
they think the athletes get to maybe an elite level and it's so easy for them, and they're these special type of humans.
yeah,
And I'm less inclined to agree with that, because I just think we're all going through our own struggles, and
mm,
people relate to hearing, shucks, people at the top of their industry and sport are still going through everyday struggles
yeah,
and struggling with these things. So like more people speaking about it, like you doing a documentary,
yeah,
being so raw,
yeah,
showing tears.
yeah,
Also, and technically as a man showing tears, like, oh, that's taboo. You
yeah,
can't do
dude.
that. Especially in a sport like slopestyle, it's like, well, and sport, you can't show weaknesses because
No,
then your competitor have an edge.
yeah,
So we never used to speak about mental health or going to therapy.
yeah, yeah. It
And
was
now it's being more accepted, which is healthier.
yeah, it was something that I really need to sort of touch base on because there was a lot of people around me sort of dropping out, and I'm never hearing from them again. And hearing some pretty horrible stories and what they're going through, just in like life in general, and where they've hit rock bottom. And that was kind of where I was at. And I honestly, yeah, I got to a point where I wanted to end it all. Genuinely, I was at a point where I just wanted to just think, you know what, sod it. And I won't go into detail, but it got dark, dude. And I was the only thing that kept me sort of wanted to stay alive was my youngest daughter, because I just thought I've been brought up from a very I've been very loved from my family, from both my parents. They both split up when I was about 14, but I understand all that now. But at the time, it sort of hit me. But I've always been very well looked after, and I haven't experienced like slumming it. I've always been looked after financially. I have, but I I I couldn't let my daughter down. Absolutely not, and that was the only thing that kept me going. Um, I went through a divorce. I lost my house. Yeah, I lost everything. And yeah, I was in a very, very dark place. And I didn't have any support because no what I no one was going through what I was going through. I couldn't no one could relate to it. It was so weird. It's not like you can totally see why soccer players, football players like turn to alcoholics or whatever, because like
100%.
they're
Yeah,
like
yeah. I've
shit,
watched the
like
documentary on
what.
sportsmen and alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was all going through my mind, and I was like, shit. I've got nothing I can look at to for
Do you think
like,
it's them? It's numbing the pain, isn't it?
yeah.
It's like a distraction to
I think
numb
I
the
think
pain and the
that's
like they're going through a grieving
yeah,
process.
that's exactly it. And because obviously our sport is still so young, there was nothing to look up to, or there was no help. Like, what do I do now? Like, shit, I'm not gonna win big events anymore. Like, but I want to. But I was in such a mess, dude. I didn't know what to think. And there was, yeah, like I said, there was nowhere to look. So that was when I started to, moving forward a few years. That was when this documentary. I had to make something to help other guys because it was horrible to go through. But yeah, I managed to pull out. Come out the other end, and yeah, it was a hell of a ride, dude.